Hello, you're watching Shalom World News. I'm Donna Villa coming to you from Chicago, Illinois. Here are the latest headlines from around the world. The Vatican's Undersecretary for Relations with States, Monsignor Miroslaw Wachowski, has appealed to the global community to help Lebanon on the path to recovery. Monsignor Wachowski addressed an online forum of donors hosted by friends in the United Nations on the first anniversary of the devastating blast in the Lebanese capital, Beirut, that left more than 200 dead and hundreds of others wounded. The Vatican Undersecretary also expressed the support of the Holy Father and the Vatican for the initiative and the Lebanese nation. While thanking the international community for its immediate support following the tragedy, Monsignor Wachowski recalled the Church's continuing humanitarian and spiritual assistance to the suffering Lebanese brethren. The Holy Father has appealed to the international community to help Lebanon during its weekly general address on Wednesday. The Latin American Episcopal Council, also known as CELAM, has invited Catholics in the region to be part of an ongoing listening process ahead of the regional Ecclesial Assembly that takes place in Mexico on November 21st through the 28th. The Secretary General of CELAM, Bishop George Eduardo Lozano, said this is a time to participate in the exchange of opinions on ecclesial realities in Latin America that still accounts for 40% of the world's Catholics in spite of depleting numbers. The Ecclesial Assembly is in response to the Holy Father's appeal for a more synodal church and aims to come out with a joint pastoral plan to respond to the crisis in the region that has 377 million Catholics spread across 46 nations. It will be attended by prelates, priests, deacons, lay representatives, and nominees of male and female religious orders. Hungary's Justice Minister has boldly expressed support for the traditional family and moral values by pledging to oppose the European Union's pressure to impose LGBT agenda in the school curriculum. Minister Judith Varga opposed the unprecedented attacks from the European Union regarding Hungary's opposition to LGBT materials in school curriculum, reiterating that Hungarian parents had the exclusive right to decide how their children are raised. The minister said the fundamental documents of the European Union mention that states have the right to establish schools with due respect for the right of parents to ensure education for their children in conformity with their religious convictions. Hungary had introduced legislation banning materials promoting homosexuality and transgenderism in schools and kindergartens, causing resentment from the EU. Prime Minister Viktor Orban has also announced that there would be a referendum allowing Hungarians to decide if such materials should be part of the school curricula. Archbishop Alan Vigneron of Detroit has urged pro-lifers to continue fighting against the sin of abortion, saying although there will be suffering along the way, ultimately there will be victory. He said this in his homily during Holy Mass before the semi-annual prayer vigil in East Point, Michigan on July 31st. Dozens of believers and pro-life supporters walked from St. Veronica's Church in East Point to conduct a peaceful prayer vigil for life outside 2 abortion clinics in the locality. The event was sponsored by Helpers of God's Precious Infants of Michigan. In his homily, the Archbishop said those who take part in the Vigil for Life are continuing the prophetic ministry of speaking God's will against abortion. Reiterating that it was not a political event, Archbishop Vigneron said it was a religious act undertaken with love and charity. There is good news from Guatemala, where the government, led by President Alejandro Giammattei, has come out with a new policy to protect life from its inception. The public policy for the protection of life and the institutionality of the family aims to fortify guidelines in protecting life from its conception apart from the human rights of the child, thereby protecting the family. The president said that social, health, and education programs to protect Guatemalans will be improved. The policy has been hailed by pro-life groups such as the Guatemalan Asociación La Familia Importa, an important step in defending life and family. The Guatemalan Constitution ensures the protection of life from its conception and the integrity and security of the person. The Cuban Conference of Men and Women Religious, also known as CONCUR, has called for the release of pro-democracy protesters still detained by police after the July 11th protest. The nationwide agitation against the communist government of President Miguel Diaz-Canel has triggered by poor management of the pandemic crisis, severe inflation, and the acute shortage of food, medicine, and other essential items. Police cracked down on Cubans as they took onto the streets on July 11th and 12th, where more than 100 people were arrested. In a statement, CONCUR expressed concern over the detention of protesters and called for free dismissal of proceedings for citizens who exercise their right to protest peacefully. In what is seen as an attempt to target the Christian legacy of Australia, the Labour Party has pledged to axe the practice of reciting the Lord's Prayer before every session in the Victoria Parliament. On Wednesday, there was a debate in the upper house of the state on removing the prayer, Our Father, but it failed to get the support of a majority of the major parties. The proposal to remove the prayer was put forward by recent party leader Fiona Patten, who wants to scrap the century-old tradition with a moment of silence for lawmakers to reflect on their responsibilities to the people of Victoria. Marking their opposition to the move, more than 10,000 Victorians contacted their elected representatives demanding the protection of the long-standing tradition. The Chinese Communist Party's crackdown on Christians has intensified as Chinese court has awarded imprisonment to 4 Christians who sold electronic devices that play Bible verses. The 4 believers have been slapped with hefty fines and prison sentences. The 4 believers were running the Shenzhen Life Tree Culture Communication in Shenzhen City in Guangdong Province, where they were arrested in July last year. The verdict of the case comes as the communist government increased control over Christian churches in the country, especially the unregistered ones. According to International Christian Concern, Bible hard copies are no longer available for online sale in China, and believers can download Bible apps only using a virtual private network VPN by bypassing the firewall. And those are your latest headlines. Do join us tomorrow. In the meantime, you can visit swnews.org for more updates. Shalom.